So I think so when you're done, you just click stop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think what
voice. It's improvisation because without demonstrating on board, I think about a shoe, right? Oh, I mean, this is only about a little bit. Okay. Right. Welcome to this course. This is what is called Media and Society. I forgot that I have to also be speaking to this gadget. Right. Media and society. It's just have to do with. We're going to be dealing with how the media impacts the society in terms of the way of life in different aspects to do with their economy or economic life, to do with their cultural life, and any other aspect. So we're going to appreciate what the connection or the relationship between the media and the society. And as we can know, we'll see that when we say media and society, it's the media alone. It cannot exist alone. We're not talking about the media without the society, which are the people that consumes media content. So without the consumers, which is the society, the media cannot exist. But the society can exist without the media. But the only problem would be the interaction of people or the media, the society, could be different if the media could not be around. Because we're going to appreciate that one of the main role of the media on the society is that it enhances the interaction between or among the people, the way they interact. There's something that is aided or is enhanced in a certain way with the availability of the media. How do you know that? How can you tell that? Think about the world we are today. Just think about if the media could not be around, anything to do with the media. What are we talking about? When we're talking about the media, what are we saying? What is the media? I believe that you have encountered the word the media in a number of courses, and I do believe you have got an idea. But when we talk about the media in general, we do talk about those platforms that transmit messages to a large number of people, and we talk about usually it's the people that receive these various messages are people who are different ethnicities, different culture, different ages, and of different, let me say, various levels of intellectual capacity and others. Now, when we think about the media in general, we will know that we will start with just talking about like the media, and then we talk about the mass media, right? So for us, maybe before we go into the actual course in detail, because according to the way we're supposed to start, we're supposed to start dealing with the first of all communication, because I've said the media enhances the interaction between or among the people, which is communication. So if you're talking about communication, it means we need to ask ourselves, are we conversant with the word communication? Because as we are aware, most of the words that are used in this discipline might mean different things. Now, so when we say communication, what are we talking about in our field? So we're supposed to start. So before we start on with the communication, that's what I wanted to just have a glimpse of, as I talked about, that we need to know that what the media is, and then we'll know what the society is, and then we'll say, okay, there is a communication part of it, right? When we maybe let me just start with at the basics, because the communication we are going to be talking about in this media, media society, we are going to be talking about the communication that is to do with in connection with the media. We're not going to be talking about the communication alone, right? So the communication process alone, apart from regardless of the media. If we remember maybe what we learned, or maybe we didn't learn, but the communication alone, it talks about the communication process. It says, this is the definition that has been placed here. Let's hope it's going to be, encompassing almost the majority of the concepts. Here it says, this is now the communication process. That's what I'm starting. I'm starting with media and communication. I'll just be moving a little bit quickly. Media and communication. Then the communication process quickly, just to think about the communication process, as I'm saying here, the brief definition of communication process that we can get: communication is the process of sharing our ideas, thoughts, and feelings with people, and having those ideas, thoughts, and feelings understood by the people we are talking to. Right? Communication is the process of sharing our ideas, thoughts, and feelings with other people, and having those ideas, thoughts, and feelings understood by the people we are talking to. Right? So in this, I think you can observe here, it talks about the process of sharing ideas, thoughts, and feelings. Not just only sharing, you are sharing to the people, with other people, and having those ideas, thoughts, and feelings understood by the people we are talking with. So the question could be, how do you know that the thoughts, the feelings, and what you are sharing, and the ideas you are sharing, how do you know that they have been understood by the people you are communicating to? So so we communicate through speaking. We communicate sometimes. Let me just say, in the communication process, there is that involvement of you can have speaking, then you listen, then you observe. So maybe let's just talk about our human senses. there is that involvement of the human senses. Because as we go through the normal communication process, I'm not so sure if this is the class whereby we talked about communication process, but the communication processes, there are different theories who came up with different communication models, and they say paradigms of models, whereby they explain what communication is, which is the actual communication. Because sometimes people mistake communication to something to like as something else, where you can say you take the information you give to somebody. Because what we're going to be talking about here, in our sense, we are going to be putting to it that when we talk about communication, we are talking to what is called effective communication. Because you have this communication, now we have what is called effective communication. So when you send the message, you want to send it to whoever is supposed to get the message, and that particular person receive that particular message without feedback. Because in communication, there's supposed to be feedback. You should be able to know that particular recipient have gotten the message and have understood the message. Because if it's the person who got the message but you don't understood the message, you understand the message, could be just a mere communication. But for us in the media, we concentrate on what is called effective communication, meaning the message has been communicated to whoever you wanted to, and that particular person has received the message and has interpreted the message the way you intended to be interpreted, and then has given feedback. And when you do that, the best example would be, you talk through cell phones. Nowadays, the commons are talking about WhatsApp. Imagine if you send a message to somebody, and now that person gets the message and give you a response. If the response is what maybe you expect, not what you expected, but it shows that the person understood the message, the conversation is going to be smooth. But it's an example. Let's say an example whereby you know the infamous blue tick, which is popular. How do you understand it? You send the message. You have seen that there is a blue tick. You have assumed that the person have read the message. But do you know that how the person has interpreted the message? Because you make your own conclusions, but it could not be true. You just assume that because there is a blue tick, the person has seen the message and is ignoring me. I know I've been saying that these big tech companies, when they were creating that particular element of the blue tick, they knew what they were doing. Because they were playing around with communication process. Right. So it's going to be a problem, because sometimes you could respond because you just assume that I think maybe this person has gotten the message, doesn't want to reply, and then you say silent as well. But you could be wrong, because it could be that maybe a person opened the phone accidentally, did not even know that he has opened the phone, or maybe he opened the phone, he wanted to read or she wanted to read, and then something has happened and then she forget about it. So but the problem is you could have a problem of that effective communication whereby you could respond differently. So for us, when we talk about communication, you know that we will say that if there is that a problem, because in the communication process, if we are going to go back and see, as I told you, there are different, if you browse on the internet, there are different models of communication. And yes, you want to get this gentleman?
I just need to
for the first day, first class.
I came to just pass my compliments.
This is the first class, man.
Yes, sir.
So,
I just wanted to pass my compliments to the New York.
okay. Yeah, all right.
And
Yeah, that's the thing. You wanted to interrupt it. You saw said, no. That was 2020, 2021. This year is expected that when it's class, it's class. Right. So, what I'm saying is
an extra blue pen.
unfortunately, I don't. The pen I have is this. I don't. You have your first class today.
Yeah. No, with you?
Not me. Whoever.
Yeah, we had. So we have another one by me.
So how come you're coming for the first day and you don't have a pen? How serious are you?
No, I'm actually borrowing for a colleague. Me, I came with mine, but then I'm just borrowing.
Okay. Unfortunately, we need to not waste much of the time. You see, that this recording is here for our sake, for our colleagues. So what I'm saying, the communication process, elements in the communication process, the main elements are the same. Like in the communication process, a normal communication, you are going to have, there's going to be, let's say, let's say the sender. It's going to start with, it's going to be, there should be a sender to that message. If you are communicating, you have the sender, then this one are the main ones. You have the sender, you have the channel through which that message is going to pass through. Then you are going to have the receiver on the other side. Right? The communication. But now, the actual process, what is going to be happening is, on the sender, here, on the sender, you are going to have a process, what is called encoding. Here. There's going to be encoding on the sender. And then, on the receiver, there's going to be decoding. What it means is the normal communication process is going to start with somebody who has an idea or have a message to communicate to someone else who is going to be a sender. Now, this person will take that message and now will put that particular message in a certain format. Because for the receiver to receive the message, what we are talking about here, we are talking about a communication process whereby the receiver is not available around. Because I'm just trying to talk about things here and there, but we are going to talk about, as I'm saying, I'm breaking down this communication process, but I will break down again actual the amount of communication between different people or the levels of communication later on. But this is just what happens in the communication process, whereby you have a sender who send a message, who put a message in a certain format based on the receiver, because the receiver will be somewhere. So now, the format of the message will depend on the receiver. What I was talking about, the encoding process, what it means is the packaging of the message will depend on your knowledge as a sender of the receiver. Because you say, okay, the person I'm sending have got a cell phone. So if you know that the person who you are sending have got a cell phone, you will say, okay, let me call the person. It means your message is going to be, you have made a choice, first of all, to use the audible voice. Right? Yes? Because when you're talking about in communication, I say you could use audible voice, you could use text, you could use different format. But now, this time I say, okay, because it's a phone, I'm going to use audible voice, one, and you know this person has got a cell phone. So the encoding process here will be decided by the nature of the receiver, right? And when the message is going to be sent, the phone, the actual cell phone that is transmitting, that is the channel. It's going to be the voice is the encoding, which is going to be format like a voice format. And the channel is going to be the phone, the actual phone line, whatever, that's the channel where it's going to be passing through. And where this receiver is going to be receiving his phone, he's going to use it from the channel, and then the interpreting of your message. When you're speaking, I'm saying this, the process of interpreting the message, what you are saying is the one what is called decoding. Because if you remember, I do believe in your houses, maybe you have the decoder from DSTV. You know the decoders there. So they are called decoders because where those films you see, all those music videos you see, where they were sent, the format in which it was encoded could have not been possible for you to see it on TV. Because it was put in a format so that it could travel through the satellite. So when it enters your house, that decoder will interpret the message for you so that you could see it. But the actual getting of the meaning is going to be based on you. Because there could be a possibility of the message to be misinterpreted. How? In general, I'm saying in the communication process, you have a sender, then you have encoding, then you have a channel, a receiver, a decoding, then a receiver. Then from there, you know that you as a sender, you need to get the feedback to understand that okay, the person has got the message, isn't it? Feedback. So after here, you're going to have the feedback. So it would be, in terms of the model, there are so many models. So I'll just draw maybe a very simple one. This one, let me say, okay. Right. This one, they didn't even say which one is this, but you're going to have so many models. This one you would put like, let me say, you have encode here, then you have sender here, then decode here, then this message is going through here, through somewhere here, to this side, to the receiver. And also on the receiver, you have the decode, receiver, this is the receiver, then encode, meaning on the right, and then you have what is called noise. Here you'll be having this in between the message. You could have something what it could be noise. So here is the message you have, and this is the medium where you have noise. Okay? So then you have here feedback. So feedback, you're talking about is from here going backwards to this one. So in a simple case like this one, it's just a simple demonstration on the elements of the communication process that is there. Whereby you have these elements, these are the main elements. You have the sender, you have the encoding, you have decoding, you have the medium, which is the channel. you have the message, then you have noise. What is called noise? Because this, what you are seeing here, like a splash, as a splash, could be the noise. Although the noise, it has been indicated. Although noise has been indicated down here. I even forget that. You have to address that one. What we are having here is you are having a simple demonstration of the communication process, elements of the communication process. As I said, you are going to find out that there are so many people out there who came up with their own different communication models. But what we're going to find out, they will use, the elements are the same. As I'm saying, here you see you have from this side you have sender here, then there's encoding. The sender is going to encode upwards, that's now the message is going. This is the message. In this message, the arrow that is pointing that side is the medium, where the message is. This splash you are seeing there is what is called noise. This noise could be in between the channel, anywhere else, any point in the channel, there could be noise, what is called noise. And at the end, the receiver is going to decode the message, which means it's going to interpret the message. Then after decoding the message, he is going to, or she is going to encode. So after encoding, there's going to be the same process like what is happening here. You can see the process that has happened from going that side is going now to happen from the feedback from him or her. It's going to respond as feedback, and this person who is the receiver, you are going to receive the feedback and then decode it. So it's like it's a two-way. But what we are saying is, in the communication process, when we are talking about noise in the communication process is anything that can interfere with the transmission of the message in the communication process. Anything that can interfere. When you are communicating any message, you are communicating. Anything. Talking about it being mechanical or being anything, or maybe it's just a verbal or even psychological. So when you say noise, because sometimes you could think about maybe the actual audible voice. That, for example, I'm trying to talk to you, and there is a loud music, loud music somewhere. You are going to fail to get what I'm saying because of that loud music. That is going to be noise, but that is now actual audible, maybe audible voice or actual noise that you know. It could be not the noise that maybe is heard. It could be that I'm talking to you, but you are thinking about something. That is psychological. So the communication process, it could be, this is an example like what we do in class here. I could be maybe talking to you, explaining to you, but you could be hearing, because listening and hearing are two different things. Hearing is just that ability to sense that there is a sound being produced somewhere. While listening is now paying attention. You are now dedicating your attention to get what is being said. So you could be hearing but not listening. So that is going to be noise. So it could be anything else. It could be, as I have talked about already, technical, which is maybe the phone line is very bad phone line. So somebody is speaking, but you're not able to get what the person is saying. Right? It could be anything. So when you're thinking about communication, think about anything else that you can interact. So this one, we're going to link this one to the media, because I'm just trying to talk about communication alone to understand what it is. When we are going to be linking it with how the media sent messages to the people out there and the connection, we should be able to know what we're talking about. Because the media is going to be involved in the same process of communication, the same communication we're talking about here. Because sometimes we think about, when you say the media, we think as if maybe it's something separate, whereby people are going just to receive the message. No. We are communicating the same way we do, because we do communicate through audio, video, communicate through even the whole elements or the elements that are present in the normal communication process is what the media is going to be using. So any problem in coding, because you as a journalist, if you are going to be communicating, let me say you are writing an article. Right? If you are going to be writing an article in a newspaper, what you are doing, you are trying to communicate through the print. Yeah? So if you, as I've said, that in the communication process, for you to achieve this effective communication we're talking about, it means you have to understand, or maybe you need to, or let me just say, you need to be aware of the receiver. You cannot just communicate. I think you've seen it before. These are the people who does adverts, whereby there are some other people they will go, or some other companies will be advertising, but you find out that their products are not selling. Some will be using the same platform, advertising on the same platform, and their products are going to be sold. The problem is others could communicate without doing research on their receivers. Maybe their receivers, the time they put the message on the radio, they are not around. Or maybe the language they are using, their receivers are not understanding. Because as I'm saying, as the link we are going to draw between the media, the way we communicate to the people, the language you choose, the choice of language, could be a value, could be noise if you are not careful. If you are using, those big words unnecessarily, to the extent that some people are reading and they are not understanding the message because of the language you are using. It means you are creating, there is noise created by you. So when you are communicating in the media, you are going to discover that this process we are talking about here, communication, is going to be viable if you understand what happens, right? And the element of noise is something that you need to be cautious about, because if you don't consider noise in the communication process, if you ignore noise, and then you think that, I've done everything I could. It's in everything. We're talking about in anything. Whether maybe you are an actor, maybe you are a musician, maybe you are an artist. If the message you are sending is not getting to where you want, there could be noise somewhere that you ignore. Maybe there is noise somewhere, but because maybe you overlook it, then you expect that, as long as I've got my things, as long as I've placed my things somewhere, that maybe people are going to get it, it's going to work. So, but for you to be, you could communicate on that level, but for you to achieve this, then it's where you need to go back and ask yourself questions. In the communication process, where is the noise? Is the noise in the language? Is the noise maybe the way things are, or maybe the channel? So as I'm saying, noise could be anywhere. It could be in the channel. As I'm saying, you send the message maybe on the phone, it's okay, but maybe the phone line is problematic. So this receiver will not get what you're saying because of the line. It could be maybe the line is okay, but the way where you are, there is a lot of things happening there. There is noise, actual noise. It could be maybe the pronunciation of the words, the way you are pronouncing the words, somebody is not getting it. It could be even not the pronunciation of the words, but maybe the arrangement of your words. Because sometimes if you go to English, you discover that qualifiers, we talked about qualifiers. There is what are called misplaced qualifiers. If there is a qualifier, if you go back to your English grammar, and find out about what are called qualifiers. Qualifiers, they are placed next to the object or to something, to a thing that they are qualifying. If you say you're trying to qualify something, then it should be next. But if you take that qualifier and place it somewhere, not next to what is qualifying, what it means, the meaning of the qualifier will be taken as if it's qualifying what is in front of that qualifier. So you could have the message, maybe you get some other sentences whereby they sound normal, but when you critically listen to it, scrutinize the sentence, they could mean something different. So those are also some of the things that you need to observe in that. Right? So in short, here it says two common elements in every communication exchange are the sender and the receiver. Those are the main core elements. Without the sender and the receiver, you cannot have this process. And that's saying the sender initiates the communication process. The one who initiates is the one who starts the communication process is the sender. And then the receiver is the individual to whom the message is sent, right? And then you have the sender encodes the idea by selecting words, which we will be using the form, or selecting symbols. If you are writing the text, because the text that we write, those are symbols. We overuse them. Sometimes we assume that, when I say yes, when I write Y-E-S, it means is yes. As if we can have a machine, and then if we can tell someone to say yes, and to spread maybe something, maybe to spray something in the air, we are going to see that the words that he said yes, they are indicated that is Y-E-S. It's not true. We are just told that when you take Y and E-S is yes, but these, the Y and the E, the S, those are symbols. This is mere symbols. So you could communicate as a sender using words, using symbols, that's the process of encoding, or using gestures, right, to compose a specific message. And then the message is the outcome of the encoding, right, which takes the form of either verbal or non-verbal or written format, right? Then you have the message that has been created is going to go through the medium, and the medium can be in different formats. If we talk about the way we have been talking about the communication we have been talking about, we have been talking about let me say not. We could start with, if we could think about the non-communication, apart from this communication process, process in general, we could think about what is called, like what I'm doing here, face-to-face communication. Right? In terms of communication, we could have what is called face-to-face communication. If you have face-to-face communication, then you will know what to use if it's face-to-face. Right? Usually, if it's face-to-face communication, it could be maybe you use words, maybe you use gestures, because you are seeing somebody there. But if it's not face-to-face communication, then you would use maybe, as I've said, maybe words again, if it's a phone, or we use text with symbols, right? So here it's to say you would have the media could be take the message through the face-to-face conversation, or you would have telephone call, you would have emails, you would have written reports, and on the side of the receiver will receive the message into meaningful information. Then, as I've said, we have noise, which is anything that distorts the message, right? So different perception of the message, or language barriers, interruptions, or emotions, attitudes, example. So I'm saying when you think about noise, because people have got a problem of thinking about noise. When you say noise, most of the time people they say, oh, it's that loud sound. But I'm saying you have to check it out here. Talking about perception alone. Somebody you know it yourself. You want to speak to somebody. There are some people that you have never talked to before. But when you look at them, the way you look at them, you create your own perception to say, this person, I don't like this person. Without even talking, you don't even know them, but you say, I don't like this person. Why? So the person you don't like, you create your perception that you don't like. So imagine that person, he comes to you and is saying something to you. Do you think you are going to pay attention? You're going to, you're not going to be paying attention because you don't like the person. So, knowing that belongs, the perception is noise. Attitudes is noise. It's noise again. The attitude towards somebody is noise. Talking about the actual noise, emotions, or interruptions, language barriers, and so on. You know, there are so many of them you can think about. So, these could be interruptions. Interpret the message. Feedback allows the sender to determine whether the message has been received and understood. So if there is feedback, it's where you are going, as a sender, you are going to make judgment that the message has been understood, or maybe the message we are not understood. So if the feedback is not going to be there, you might try to send the message. But if the feedback is there, but it shows that maybe the receiver did not understood what you were talking about, what you're going to do, you're going to repackage it. Because maybe the choice of ways we are going to call it. So you might change the way you communicate. If it's not okay, then you can leave it. So it will help you as a receiver, as a sender, to know, to try to communicate in a certain way. Right? So these are many elements of the communication process, and as I say, effective communication is, I talk about a good working definition of effective communication is to share meaning and understand between the person sending the message and the person receiving the message, right? So what it means is, if the meaning of the sender is also the way the same as the receiver understood the message, it means there is effective communication, right? So after that, in the communication process, you're going to have what are called barriers to communication. So barriers to communication is noise, but now we're trying now to put them in context. But when you say barriers to communication, they could be different in four forms. Like you will have what are called internal barriers to communication, then you can have what are called external barriers to communication. Like for example here, on the barriers to communication, they say, like internal, the barriers to communication that are internal, difference in culture and values, because I could communicate to you the way I communicate to anybody, but you could discover that maybe there is a group of people that are not, maybe they are not getting the message. Not that I could tell from the outside, because it's not from outside. It's maybe because of their culture. Their culture, they have got something. There is something they were told in their culture. So when I come telling them, we discover that they are not maybe understanding, but I could not see, because it's not outside, it's inside. So you could have difference in culture and values. You could have negative feelings towards the client. You could have maybe feelings of inadequacy, difficulties. So anything that it could be a barrier, but you cannot tell from the outside. is internal. So those are barriers to communication, but they are internal barriers. External barriers to communication are usually the ones that you could tell. For example, I'm communicating to you. I could tell that you are tired. Because how do I tell? No. You see that I'm speaking with the person is about to sleep. So you know this person is tired. You know what I mean? And that's the barrier of communication. Because if you are tired, you are not concentrate. So, but it's external now. It means tiredness is external barrier. You're talking about hunger. I know people say hunger. Hunger it could be when you say, how do you know this one is hungry? But usually, you could tell them, but they were there, they look. But I know you could say also it's inside because hunger is inside. But you could see by the way their expressions that there's something wrong. Feeling ill. Feeling ill, that is somebody feeling like I'm ill. It would be external barrier. Noise, the actual noise, physical noise that you hear from them would be external barrier. Inappropriate environment, we are communicating at an environment that is not appropriate. There are so many inappropriate materials around that you could not be conducive in communication. You could have maybe differences in language. I would like to communicate to somebody. Maybe I'm speaking in a certain language. For example, I've gone to the north. Maybe I'm speaking Chichewa, or somebody is communicating to me in Tumbuka, but I don't speak Tumbuka. So that is could be also a barrier, but it would be extended because I could get it. Maybe a person who is deaf, where somebody cannot hear what doesn't hear sounds. So it's the same as maybe even visually impaired. People who cannot be able to see, right? So you have all those internal and external barriers, right? So you have that, and then you could, with what I've talked about here, you could do, and even with the internal and external, you would be able to separate them because it's like an exercise. Yourself, you will know. Out of these, what we are talking about, internal and external, you could have what I call like when it comes to noise, because all that are barriers to communication. So, and I've said that it is repeated that they are noise. So when it comes to noise, you could check noise itself. There could be physical noise. I've talked about it already. Actual physical noise. Then you could have psychological noise, which is not physical but not psychological. It's just to do with a mental issue. Then you could have noise, but let me just say, we'll talk about noise. You could have this noise. Then you have physical, then psychological. I don't know if I have the same. There can be problems with psychological. Most of the time you miss something. Did I miss it? I think it's okay. I should miss an S somewhere. Yeah, I knew. There should be an S here. S-P-S-Y, there should be S here, is it? Yeah. Here. Psychological. Yeah. So then you have which is also very part of noise, semantic noise. Something that to do with semantics. And you know, when you say semantic or semantics, something to do with language, right? The words you choose. So, on the noise, let's say you have physical noise. Let me say here. Here, talk about physical noise refers to conspicuous distractions in the environment that make it difficult to hear or pay attention. So if you know that physical noise is those distractions in the environment, that you could literally hear that, oh, I'm speaking, somebody is moving something here. So it's to do with the immediate environment where you are. That you will distract. Psychological, yes, to talk about mechanisms within individuals that restricts the sender's or receiver's ability to express or understand the message. So, for example, with limited vocabulary may have difficulty translating images into symbols that can be understood easily by the receivers. I mean, psychological is simple. I don't want to even call the way that I try to describe it here, but let me say, you just have to do, when you talk about things to do with psychology, it's something to do with your mind. So, if there are distractions to do with the mind, something else that is running into your mind, not that is in your environment, but it's something that is to do with maybe what is going on in your brain, what you are thinking about, and maybe your attitude towards something. All those things, those are psychology. Then we talk about semantics. Semantic noise, we talked about that's the noise now to do with the choice of words. Your specific choice of words are preventing a receiver to understand the message. It means instead of you choosing simple words, you have decided to use maybe difficult words. Or instead of you choosing a language that is understood by this one, you have chosen a language that is not understood by this one. So anything that is to do with or you might choose the language, maybe some other ways, I mean, they might not be difficult, and they might be maybe the language that the person speaks, but it might, the sentence could be maybe arranged in a way that it might sound like as if it means something different from what you're trying to communicate. So if it's anything like that, that is to do with the semantic noise, and they will say semantic barrier, because it's all barrier to communication. So, okay.
On the semantics, so let's say you send a message like in English, so the person doesn't understand English.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's this technology that you can use
Google Translate. Yeah, so the thing is, first, as I told you, that for you to know that there is effective communication, you need to have this, the feedback. So if you send the message in a language that is not understood, if the person has done it Google Translate, how are you going to know that he has done that? Feedback. You have to listen, you need to get the feedback to know that, oh, I think a person has understood. So if the feedback shows that the person has understood, it means you don't care that whether the language was not appropriate, because the person has understood. So it will be complete. But when you receive, because the feedback, that's what I said in terms of the effective communication, feedback is important. Because the feedback will help you know that the process has been complete. Because sometimes you could spend the money, as I'm saying, if you are an advertiser, you could spend the money and the advertising thinking that the people or the advertisers are doing what you want to do. Maybe they are advertising. Until you get the feedback from the people, it's when you are going to be so sure. If you don't get the feedback, you will be guessing. So what you are saying is true, but now, if a person does that, it means there is no noise, because it has been understood. But what we are talking about, if a person is unable to even have that application to say that it translates, if he is unable. So if you get the feedback, you will notice that the person is not understood the message. Yeah. So that's where that is going to be a part. Because as long as the receiver has interpreted the way you want it, it's not a barrier. So when we say barriers, is where the receiver has failed to get the same idea as you communicated, or the same meaning as you intended. So So how do you deal with these blocks or these barriers to communication? How can you go about it to solve the problem of barriers to communication, right? Here we have got these two authors. This author called Shannon and Weber. They had their own model, and they described the things that impact communication, as we already talk about as noise, and some they talk about little noise. Because when you say little noise, this is the actual noise that we can hear, right? And then you have got the internal and literal. Internal, or you talk about it, or external noise, which is external. On the little could be also noise like the same, but you talk about internal is completely something different, right? So they talk about that. Here saying, let me say here, the most important way for you to avoid a barrier to communication is to be aware of your own stuff. I think that's what I talked about here. I say, for you, before you communicate, you cannot just communicate without knowing what it is. It's the same as the way we do in the actual media. Maybe you are doing a program. It's anything you want to communicate. Even you are writing a letter, can you just sit and say, okay, I want to communicate it to maybe my grandparents or whatever, and say, write in the letter. Without knowing that, maybe that person cannot know how to read, doesn't know how to read. The only way you're going to communicate, you have to understand, oh, this person I'm communicating, I've got this. So if I'm going to use a letter, the person is going to be able to read. So if you know your receiver, it's easy for you to go about most of these barriers that could infringe you. Infringe the receiver from getting the actual meaning. Could be avoided, because some could be a problem. For example, if it's something to do maybe with the noise, to do with the physical noise, which is state of life. Sometimes it will happen maybe without you knowing. That would be another issue. But still, you could know by feeling. But it's very important, as it says, that you need to know your own material, first of all, from where you are. What you know, everything else that you also, internal and external, and also that you should, that you can avoid responding to the person you are supporting from your own frame of reference. So the thing is, as I'm saying, you know the receiver, and you also know where you are, because where you are, I'm saying, if there is a problem, I think you know sometimes when you are in the other locations, you could say that, this location has got a problem of network problem. So you should be aware, because sometimes you ignore your own problems that you have where you are without thinking about it. Just say, okay, I'm going to send the message. So I've said that before, whereby you are sending a text. In your phone there is no credit. Then you are sending a text without realizing that you have a text credit. After 1 hour, then you check it, you discover a message not sent. After 1 hour, it means you didn't care about yourself. So first of all, before you send, take a look at yourself. Okay, what do you want to do in terms of communication? Are you good in communicating using words? Are you good in communicating using the text? Are you good? So you should know exactly, because if you don't know who you are, you might have a problem. The channel you are using, is it okay? Is everything okay? So you check everything on your side, whether internal and external, and also know the one who is receiving there, and have the knowledge of that person. Some of the things maybe that you have, you might not know, but at least if you have the idea of the person, it's easy. So that's that about the communication process. I know we might be coming back later on into detail into some of the things to do with the maybe communication. because it's a larger field of communication. But I've just trusted to do it with this because as I'm telling you, if you go online, you're going to find models, what they're called models of communication, different models. All those models, they're going to have this. The only difference will be, maybe I've seen them before. Most of them, some of you will find them, they'll be round. Some will be round. So some, they will not show feedback. You have some other, like the LA models. They were just showing the sender, and they're not even showing encoding. They're just showing maybe sender, channel, receiver. Then you find another model, it will show sender, encoding, then will add the medium, and they'll add noise, but they will not show feedback. Then you find some, they will now show that it is feedback. Most recent communication models, they include the feedback. Because the old ones, they will not think much about feedback. They are more concentrated on the sending of the message and receiving of the message. But after different research, they discover no. Communication process is not all about sending and receiving and ending. There is a lot of things that happens between the sending and the receiving. That's why we have the feedback issue and with the noise issue coming in. So that's what you're going to find out. Right? So that has to do with the communication. Then we talked about the media, because that's we were in the beginning here. We talked about the media and what do you understand? We talked about the media alone. Now, I've said that the media could be just taken like in here. We could say that in the communication channel like here. We could say the channel, or I think it's already here, you see? Media. It has already shown you that it's medium here. So, medium, when you say media, media is proof. Media means it's not just like this one. You have got this medium, one. You have got medium one, radio. You have got another medium, TV. It means together they are media. So media is proof. So we are going to, when we talk about the media, now is when we come to talk about the mass media. Because we know we have media, but when we talk about the mass media, because in the beginning they thought that when they say the media is enough, but they wanted to emphasize the vast nature of coverage of the media. That's why they did that mass media. But so I believe this mass media, that is not a new term. What do you understand by the mass media, the term mass media? For you, not to be tired. What is mass media? In your own words, you have talked about this. What do you understand by the mass media? When you say mass media?
Mass media is the process of communicating I think so. That I will say large number.
Okay.
It's the process of communicating message or information to the audience.
So okay. It's a process. When you say mass media, but because when you are defining, you need to be careful with the words you are using. Some of the words you need to be so sure, because you're talking about. It's simple. Don't overthink only something that is basic, because you know about it. I mean, let me say, you know media, like for example radio. See, radio is an example of a of mass media. So radio is a radio process. Radio alone is TV a process. So it can help you to define, when you're defining, you know that if radio is the example of mass media. It's a media, one of the examples. So it cannot be a process. Because what does the radio do? It takes the messages, it sends it to different people out there. So it's like you are dealing with something like this that I talked about. It's like a channel. Because this media I talked about, the media here is a channel. So you could use a word like channel. Like the channels, the way you can use it, channels.
Or we can say it as a packaging.
It's going to be because in the, as I told you, because I started describing this communication process, and I said when we come to the mass media, what the mass media does is the same process. They use the same process. So what the radio is doing is exactly as we're talking about here. Radio is a sender here, and it will be sending the message to the people. So it could be a message itself. Yeah, because there are people, but the radio, the actual radio would be here. This message, that the channel that is being passing through. So it could be a message. It could be a channel in which or through which, let me just put that, various messages will be sent to a large, because there should be a large number of people simultaneously. Well, that element is important. Must be there's element of simultaneous. They don't usually, because the only normal communication, it was like, I will make like a phone call. I will give you a phone call. Then to talk to this person, it means that I should cut your phone call. Then I should call this person. It's not simultaneous. While on radio, when I'm broadcasting here, people, thousands and millions of people are going to be getting the message at the same time. The message is going simultaneously to different people. If it's a newspaper, people are going to be receiving the same newspaper simultaneously. So in the your definition, you should put that element that it is sent. It's through which messages are going to be sent to various, or even to the people, or a large number of people, or they say it to a genius number of people simultaneously, right? So I'm just trying to clarify that you use the way maybe there are vessels or there are channels like you talk about the good way that we find, right? So when we talk about the media itself, because I said mass media, the one we want to talk about here, is part of the media. Because we started with the media. So media would be just maybe that channel, this channel, alone. That message is going through it. Maybe it's going to one person, it will be a medium. Or medium, But now, there are particular channels that will send messages to a large number of people at the same time. Those channels are what we are calling now mass media. So we cannot just call them media. Because when we go to talk about media, actual media could be classified into a number of classes. As a media, you would have like a classification of the media. You would have what is called the traditional media. You have traditional media as a traditional media. Then you have they want to talk about the mass media. You're going to have you could say mass media, but if you want to just break down into separate, we would put like, let me say, print media. But if you talk about mass media, it means that you need to break it down, because it's not just as one of them. In mass media, you have print media, then you have electronic media in mass media. But here I'm just trying to now break them down into whatever. But you have print media, then you have electronic media, then you have lastly here what is called a new media, which is a new, an addition. New media. So classification of media, you have traditional media. So on the traditional media, it is also called folk. You have been hearing about it. Folk media. You heard about that. You've been hearing about folk rules, folk tales, and so it has a type of media. Because we talk about the traditional media, it's like you talk about refers to the time or conventional means of mass communication, such as the street theater or puppetry. Let me see here. Different things that that are traditional or that are used to communicate the messages to the people in a traditional way. Just think about the villages, because this is to do with a lot of communication setups that were being practiced or that have been practiced in villages. If you go to villages, you discover that for them to get messages, they don't go and read the newspaper. There is somebody who comes, go around the village shouting. They are called clients. They will be shouting, we have got this, we have got this. It's an actual person. Or some other person you go, they will have a big drum. I know even in our primary schools, I don't know if nowadays it happens. We used to have a bell. We used to have that in primary schools nowadays. Government, yes? To know that it's a break time. You are listening, you are waiting to hear the bell. When the bell is, strike, you know it's a break.
Unless you say,
because the actual uses are like a bell, maybe use the siren. We could say traditional, but it's more modern. But the bell that we used that time, it was not the original bell. It was just something like the metal, a normal metal, but people will hear, there's metal this time. It's a break. But in villages, they could have maybe drum. They could have all those people. So there is a lot of ways where they communicate messages in the villages without newspaper, without TV. They will use traditional dances. They will use theaters like plays. They will use even all those Nyawe, but they know the meanings. It means something. You see? So if they want to communicate through that. So the communication of using that is also part of the media. But now, that type of media is what is called traditional media. And now, if you can look at it, you discover that there could be advantages and there could also be disadvantages. Just think about no advantages. Think about those people in the villages. For them, it's easy to understand, to get the message through that. Unlike if you bring the newspaper to them, they will have this problem to understand what the story is. So if you think about them, you discover that since they are local people that are not, most of them are not educated, it's easier for them to get the messages from the traditional form of media. And two, traditional form of media is not a problem because it can be easily replicated because it's sustained by culture. They will shift to their children and so on and so forth. Okay, it's already done now. Okay, let's start to say it here. This is 2023, yes. New things. All right. So, the advantages, you can just think about them, thinking about those people at the villages. That if you can the same people, I mean, people who have grown into, not the modern villages, or the very old villages. And if you can take those people, get them to town, and expect them to be getting the messages from the TV, from the radio, you discover they'll be missing a lot of things. If you can ask them, there's a radio there, there's a TV there, and ask them, have you heard what has happened today? They'll be saying, no, I don't know. But it was on TV. You didn't say on the TV. Because they are used to say, oh, but there's something, somebody's going to be shouting. Oh, or maybe, you know what maybe they don't have anything to do. I'll go to Magulu, I'll have a chama de Magula Jamaka, Valenti, goes to the message. So, in terms of traditional media, advantage is, as I've said, for the people at the villages or ordinary people, it's easy for them to get the message because it's traditional. It has been a tradition for so many years, and the meanings are easy to get because they have been practiced over and over. And two, because they are the same types of, let me say, rituals and traditions. It's easy for people who are going to be practicing them to learn them. It's easy. And now it's also cheap. Because you know, as I tell you, think about the town. You must think it's simple. If you don't have the money, can you be able to buy a TV set? Can you be able to buy a newspaper? To buy a radio set? There are things we take them for granted because maybe we will find them there. But it's all about the money. But at the village, they don't even need to go somewhere to get the money. They just go out the bush and check the bushes, they cut the bushes. They will practice something. It's going to be done. Without even needing, let's buy something. So, traditional media, you see that it's cheap if you regard it to other media types. And also easily, people at the villages are easily, they adapt to it easily because it's been practiced over and over for so many years. And it can be easily, even as I'm saying, transferred from generation to generation. What else here? You talk about and without even going to other things, traditional media, you talk about this, is the oldest, because this is before the advent of the radio, of the mass media. Even where we're talking about America, they're going to be shining from it. Come and check the history, go and Google the history. Who discovered, who don't remember radio, they were communicating through traditional means, the same tradition we're talking about. So I know because they are developed it, they would be like maybe African communication. Yeah, no. But you know, your history, do you know, that's why you say, no, you don't know your history. Do you know that you were also using that? I think most of the movies, maybe no actual movies, they don't do that. But animations, like if you those animations like the Ice Age movies, you see they will communicate, let me just say the Flintstones, if you know the Flintstones. Those are the old ages. They were communicating, they were trying to say no, but it was not the time. They were, putting the images of the old times. So, here, if you talk about traditional media, it's the oldest of all other media and are connected with the folk art or folk forms of the society. So, you have got and that's where I can say that it's easily message to be sent through traditional media because there is a link between that form of media and is the let me say the culture of the people. Because if you're talking about so when they're there, they'll be told folklore, so they will understand more because it's connected with their culture and they will even have interest to get more message meanings from that because it's connected with them. So there is that connection, a lot of that element. The term traditional means of communication refers to methods used in a specific culture for communication of ideas and dissemination of messages. So that's why I talk about it, the methods used. the traditional means of communication refers to the methods used in specific culture for communication. We don't say culture because if you go and look between culture and culture, different cultures, they have got different forms of their traditional media, the way they communicate. It's not exactly the same. If you really know, check what I put in the Ngoni culture, they will tell you, put if you have communication. If I get nowadays, you hear, oh, there's the chapu of Angoni, because their culture is not exactly the same. Right? So if you are thinking about traditional media, it's where you know that, okay, this is the way communication, the way they could usually like communicating, traditionally communicate in different or various cultures around the world, right? And sometimes the traditional media closely linked with, we talked about folk media, because sometimes they don't even say tradition, they will talk about folk media. Sometimes they will say alternative media. Sometimes they will say folklore media, but it's the same thing, traditional media. What else? Okay, just simply say, we talked about, I think some of them were already talked about. Characteristics of traditional media. How do you know that this is traditional? How can you characterize the traditional media? Usually, as I say, we talk about the stage for performance of traditional art forms in natural, known as in natural, known and felt. So the stage for performance of traditional art forms is natural. You don't have like manga stage normally. If you say performance in town, you have a stage. Is my light. But when they say traditional media, they want to perform. I'm not going to be on ground. It's their stage. So you have a natural stage, not usually just use a natural stage, but so you will know that this is traditional media by the performance stage, whereby it's natural. It's natural. You could also know that this is traditional media by the performers and the audience are known to each other. If you are in the village, usually, I'm a kind of once in Muslim. I will be now when you go to the village, they know almost each and everyone in the village. This person, who you? I because normally when you go to these modern media, you do not know people what was performing specifically. Unless maybe some of these main artists or maybe bands. But I mean, you don't even know this. Right. So usually when you have the media, everybody knows it. So you have performers that are and the audience are known. Performers, they know the audience they know the performance. And the contents are simple and familiar. Its content is not a complicated like type of content. It's usually simple content and they are familiar. What I'm saying familiar, because they are the same contents that are being practiced over the years. They just repeat. Usually they don't really create a new message like content. They will just know that, okay, if there is this event, they will know. It's not really they will create a new type of wool for today. They will tell you our forefather they were using this. So when you see this one, it means this. You see? So they will have that contents and also the contents are simple and also are familiar. And then unlike other modern media, people never get tired of them. I think that's another issue. Because even our normal communication, even in music, just think about the modern music. Nyimbo zote zinkashuka pena ambapo sina yote banova the nyimbo zote you cannot listen to enough no you want new artists why when you go akamati sama ko hamate zaka zote zaka a long time but they will still say this is some they will still akapaka function like ama use of message. They will not create something people know but no Gulu Wabanaba was a Gulu one, I've never heard that. Could it? I mean, a Gulu one, that big was anyone, I've never heard that. And when you go, whoever knows, they are the same songs, the same time, you mean, 100 years ago. They just repeat the same. I don't know, I can say they like it, but they are loyal because they know which one, which can be done. So they are going to eat, they appear that they love it. Why when you go to other type of media, you know, people could say, no, I don't want to be watching TV anymore. There are people in there that don't name internet, I don't go by internet. Next year, they might be ready. In the radio next year, they might go away and news. And that's it. It means you are getting involved with the media, specific. But while there's those traditional, you see, even when you go to different countries, they maintain even presidents, they will still perform, okay, we want to have our traditional dances. They will use the same. South Africa, they do that. They will use the same word. And so it's another characteristic of this traditional media. The performances are spontaneous and most often made on the spot. Okay. So the thing is, some of these performances they don't have to have a specific. They could just be made on the spot. Spontaneous. Can you come from that? So the performances are spontaneous and most often are made on the spot, meaning they don't have to be specific, specialized people. They could just be chosen right away, so spontaneously. And also you have the performance can make changes in the content according to the level of the audience. So I think this one I've seen, whereby, especially example, let's give an example, political areas, I think I've seen whereby you have which means the content can change because of according to the audience. They want you to communicate the message, and now they will just as you say, the performer can make changes in the content according to the level of the audience. So they will easily incorporate some other messages easily, according to the level of the audience. So, and lastly, the traditional arts and folk combine several art forms like dance, music, songs, and theatre to attract audiences. So what you're saying, because I say you have got traditional media, now you have this combination whereby you have dances, you have music at the same time, then you have theatre at the same time. Traditional which means they would be put together just to, because usually when you have this specialized media, modern media, you would have a specific, this is the program, your music. I'll give you an example of BBC. Normal BBC, when they are doing their program, you don't hear music on BBC. How can news and news? You cannot say, no, we want to send another message. So can you combine the music there? They will know, I don't know the music, they must say that. But here, you would have, according to the message they want to say, okay, piga madances, so music, I can also say, they could combine all these easily. So that's another characteristic of that. But so you have a lot of sometimes I'm just jumping up here, jumping from some other minute classes of this traditional media, but the major ones, they're the ones I've talked about there. So I think you could combine, as I'm saying, this interrelationship with if you talk about traditional media, I know sometimes they will put it as the traditional and they talk about folk media. They will sometimes use folk media and meaning traditional. So sometimes they will try to differentiate that maybe, okay, this is more of folk, and this is more media. But most of the time when they maybe they're talking about folk, if they would not try to differentiate it to say this is the folk, they might be talking about more combining it with the actual, the cultural aspect. Like maybe they concentrated much of the culture of the people. You know, this their actual tradition of the people. Like here, let me just say, they try to do that distinction. They're trying to talk about where the name folk media came from and the actual way, how it sounds to the people. Okay, let me see what's the time now. We have the, okay, to have a few times, see if we can go into, and before, maybe if you have to continue, I think I've talked about a number of things here and then stop without hearing much from you. I think I need to get maybe some feedback because I've been doing what I've been talking about. I've been communicating without getting much of the feedback. So for me to know that if my communication is effective, what can we talk about in terms of questions? What are cooking questions? What questions can we ask? We want to talk.
On the transition media, I was thinking that during the time of maybe the failure, so they do like place some branches of trees in the road. So can we proceed?
They do what?
They put trees on the road, like tree branches. So it's like
It's the same. Because I'm saying, when you're talking about the media, what are they? What does the media do? Or what does the media do? It's sending the message. There's a specific message it's sending. Now, if they put those trees, branches of trees, everyone will see that those branches of trees on the road, they know the meaning.
But then
They will get instantly, they will know what has happened. That there should be a funeral somewhere.
yeah, but then you said traditional media is only that's
No. I didn't know. I did not say only practice. I think what I'm saying is maybe let me say mainly, because that if you see in towns, like in the old times, almost everywhere it was used, but because we have developed, but majority of it is not used in towns. But there are some, for example, that is a sensitive issue. So, for easy communication, because they know that for them to start communicating using other means, because they still communicate using other means nowadays, WhatsApp, what they like. But that one is because it's easy to communicate using that one. They still use it. But when they are doing that, they are still using traditional media in town.
we can combine like traditional some things practiced in the knowledge.
Yeah, it's like here, I think they're talking about, we have somewhere whereby they talked about postmodernism. I think we'll talk about this some. But usually, as I'm saying, it's a communication. So because it's communication, usually the communicator will decide to use whatever means he can use or she can use. In the past, when you say it's the oldest, during that time, there were no alternatives. When there was no TV, when there was no radio, they didn't have a choice. Nowadays, because we have a choice, and now they could decide to say, okay, let's use these other forms. But because they might not have maybe adequate money or maybe speed, also to do with speed, for people to say, okay, we want you to maybe send messages. Can you go buy units and the like? It will not be faster than just taking branches of trees, put that there. It means immediately people are going to know. So they could use whatever means they could use. But I mean, in town, it's just selected few that are used as in terms of communication. We have been seeing somewhere whereby they use maybe traditional dances, not especially to communicate, but to many celebration. They just say we have got a celebration here, the mornings, so we are celebrating. Not like they're trying to communicate a certain message, but we have put some other person at the same time, but it's still diminishing. Whereby we hear this in Yaos, they are doing their own function somewhere. And they put their things also like it's flagging, still they were using. I know it's they copied it. They should copy it from somewhere like the area, but it was an only thing. Because nowadays we don't usually use that. Those people, but it's still get people that get the meaning. People who know. When they are I think let the flag here. I don't even follow them, but there are some other persons that still use those. But the only problem in town is because it's not all the people who might know the meaning of that. So most of the places where they can use, except maybe the element of the funeral branches, because it's most of the places they know, but others, apart from that, most of the people could not really understand that what it means. So if they use that one, we'll go back to what we were talking about here. Communication about it. It's their only risk. They will use it, but people will not get what they're talking about. But if they're using the same one at the village, specific village, you will find that all the people, they will know what it means. So it will be effective, much more effective. So as I'm telling you, if there are some that are used in town, they are selecting. The ones that whoever is communicating is aware that most of the people are going to understand what is the meaning. So, but in town is very diminishing nowadays, very minimal. Or even yourself, you go around. How many times do you see like traditional forms of communication in around? There are very few places there. Still remaining maybe in communities where by people that those what are called town criers. People who come, who shout in specific communities. They still maintain them, especially if the way I stay also at the ship, They are also there's a person. When there are some other communications, although we communicate through WhatsApp, the person goes around the area shouting. That's a traditional form. You see? Because even think about the energy that is required. Because by now, they could, with the modern, they could combine whereby they will use those, what do you call that? That is speaker, that I don't know, what do you call that one? That is they use it to a megaphone. They could use megaphone, but the other ones they don't. But that is now bringing technology. But I not say that they're using modern, no. That is bringing technology into traditional media. It's just a matter of that the technology has been included, but still, it's a tradition. But when you talk about the actual, if you want to appreciate the actual traditional media, then you think of the actual village now. Because we people in town, we are too comfortable here in town. In Malawi, I think it's unfortunate sometimes maybe these people in positions that they don't think much. Because if you go to village, the funny thing is, we complain in town that things are expensive in town. But what do we know? If the sugar in town is 1.5, go into the big villages, how much is it? You will find it maybe 2.5. In village, it's not a village, but it's also expensive. So you find those places whereby life is like that, and now if people are having almost everything is much more expensive. Now they cannot even afford, as I'm saying, even to say, okay, having maybe nowadays because of China, they have this is very cheap radio set, very cheap. Because the radio is one of one platform that you will even find them in the village. You find people that they don't have maybe even a TV, but they will have very small radio. They will be listening to it. But if you check the others, it's like it's another world. Most of the things that you know in town, you go there, they don't even know anything. Even the way you can analyze the politics in Malawi, the way you can analyze the people, there will be, you tell him, when you tell them, no wonder they can be easily manipulated. When you tell them, it's like they don't know anything. They will be one, oh, it's like that. So you discover, no, these people are this ignorant. No wonder somebody can come and say something, they will believe it. Somebody can come and say something. But it's because most of them, as I'm telling you, they rely on the traditional form of media, which is a very old type, and now it has to be deliberate. Because it's not a type that you can call the village and you will find it happening anywhere. No. They will have special occasions whereby, because that occasion they want to communicate a message. Then you find there are some other things. While when you come here in our meeting, we are talking about, every time you are here, you just switch the TV, it's there. Listen to everything is there. You just move around the newspaper, is there. You see every move of people, everything, all the times. So you discover that you are exposed to a lot of things. So that's why you can see, if you are trying to take the advantage and disadvantage, it's why you can see that they would be, those people in the villages, they would be missing a lot of information because of the nature or the way they get the information, whereby it's not all the time really presented. There should be specific occasions. While we're here, we have got a lot of places whereby the information, you have got 24-hour news channels. A lot of them. All the time you want to get the information, you want to get it. So that would be an advantage when you think about other forms of media apart from traditional media. So, but I mean, if you want to analyze it, you could find the good side of it, and you could also find the bad side of it. And when we talk about other forms, like when we talk about the print media, we don't talk about electronic media and the new media. It's now when you can make now a general scrutinization to say, okay, I think this could be the best. Because as you already know, we have just started with the traditional, which is much more the ancient one, the old one, which was there before the advent of these three. This print media, you already know print, we're talking about that specifically, type of media whereby it's to do with the printed material, or in here, just say the way they put it, and they talk about, say here, I don't want to go into detail in this one, but we're going to still go into detail with it. Let me say here. Like here, talk about I think you heard about the history, maybe you heard about the history of the printing press. I don't know if you did that in your history times. There is this name. When you talk about the revolution of the printing press, Johannes Gutenberg. This gentleman is a guy who invented the movable metal types, right? The printing, the material that is the first material to be used to be printing. What we talk about the printed materials, meaning. Without this gentleman, I don't think we would have been talking about the printing media, because the revolution of the printing media is, people managed to be having those printed, or let me say printing press, whereby they could print something, and then it goes on and on. So, Johannes Gutenberg movable metal types facilitated the mass production of printed material, because at the first time they were trying to, we had that type whereby they will, the oldest typewriters. We had typewriters before that, the advent of computers. We had typewriters whereby they were making noise. Maybe somewhere I remember there was a class whereby they were students for typing, actual typewriters, right? So the typewriter where like you type just one copy. It means if you want to make another copy, you have to also, it was that time, you didn't have maybe photocopies, you have to type another copy. So I believe that they should have maybe printing somewhere where they will print one copy and they will print another one. But now, this guy made it like a machine whereby you could have now mass production of a printed material. Because the newspaper came about to when the element of mass production was enabled, whereby they could produce thousands of copies and send them out. That's where you had all this newspaper coming in and the like, right? So it's the revolutionized, and from newspapers it came to the magazines, it goes to books and the like, and goes into different types, right? So that's the thing. So usually when you talk about the printed media, we talk about that type of media whereby messages are transmitted through printed formats in newspapers, in magazines, in books. That's what we talk about. So then, as we can, I don't know, do we have time? We still have time because some of these things I think we should. Let me just do 2 minutes. We don't have time. I'll just do 2 minutes. We are only time. When you think about characteristics of newspapers, I think which is like one of the print media, you talk about predominantly of news-oriented in content, right? Regularly periodicity, regular, there's got a specific period whereby they use, they come out. Choice of the time of use, right? Low cost, and this one is compared. You have to compare because it's low cost as compared to electronic media. Because sometimes people will just say maybe it's low cost. It cannot be low cost as compared to traditional media, but it's low cost as compared to maybe electronic media, right? So, and you also you think about all the things. It caters the literate. If you are not literate, you are not. It's not catering for people who can't read. It relies on text medium and the others. So you have those for newspapers. You have got magazines. You can even make any differences because you already know in terms of the way they come out. Newspapers they have got a specific period they come out. And the magazines have also specific period when they come out. But the difference is newspapers they are more frequent as compared to magazines. And also newspaper content is easily its content is easily it could be easily go stale. Like the news could easily go stale. You don't expect to read even yourself with last week's news reading today. It just will not make sense. But you would read 3 years ago magazine today, and be reading them as if it's a fresh magazine. Because the stories, they are not like those breaking news type, they are gathered for over a very long period of time. So you go through that, and then you also books, you got to compare even actual books, whereby this message is going to be sent through maybe stories and the other elements. So, I think because of time, I cannot go in detail about that, but we will later on just analyze a little bit on the print, then talk about a little bit electronic, then the new media, then we'll be going on. For new media, we're talking about the internet. It's a new platform now whereby it's this media that relies or works in connection with the internet. Because in the beginning, at the first, they were just talking about traditional media, then and usually, if let's say somewhere you find that they'll say 2 main maybe branches of maybe or classification of media. They will say print and electronic. Most of the product terms, they will just tell you print and electronic. But now here, they want to now to break them down, to start from where, even from the traditional, so where you say, okay, you start with there was the oldest tradition, and then here you could decide, you could even just say electronic. But when you say electronic, then you need to say it's in electronic. You have like a radio, then you have TV, and then the new media. It's like a separate one, but it's a same. Because what happens in the new media, it's a combination of traditional. Let me just say, let me not put much tradition, but you could even say tradition, but it's a many concentration of like print and electronic. Because in electronic, you could show things of tradition. That's why I'm telling you that sometimes you're only going to find out that some other books will just say print media and electronic media. Because if you are asking to back it up, you say no. Because in electronic media, you could find the content of traditional media. They could show it on TV. You have been seeing TV. TV everyone is a Makuli. So meaning in electronic media they could show this. So sometimes as I'm saying, they will just talk about these two. Then they'll talk about this new media. You see that on the internet, you're going to find element of traditional there. It's really short, but usually, I mean, it's because it's a model. That's why you say you find these formats can be found there, but the main key element is the use of the internet, whereby the material are designed to say that people are going to be accessing through the internet. So we are going to appreciate that later on. For today, we have to pause there. So, see, like another question, if you're in the middle of apart from this, which class, another class do you have?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know? Okay. Because I was told, I think it should be, this one or maybe it should be like, I was told, I just want to be so sure, but you see there, let me see. I think it's the other one should be tomorrow. I think it's that one will be and design. Edit and design. I think we will see because if I'm not mistaken, this is the one I got my son one bit tomorrow. So I think we'll see tomorrow. We need to shift to that one. Yeah, we need to shift and put it somewhere around the week. Because you're going to be having like Friday, Masana. That is an open time. So I think tomorrow, for tomorrow only, maybe we can impose president. Let's just have it tomorrow. But tomorrow we will agree, we should see where we're going to get it. We look at the Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, and we should remove it there. Okay, so let's communicate tomorrow for I'm trying to do the other technology here. It's not responding. Right, let's communicate tomorrow. Today, call it today.